Hey, welcome back. It is later on Thursday night, and I did finish stitching my Great British Bake Off stitches today by working on my sister's project. So, Steph, I need you to look away while I share this with everybody else. And as it turned out, looking ahead at week 3, which I went ahead and watched because I'm going to have company tomorrow night, I get to stitch on this project again for 2 things. I get to stitch 50 stitches for last and technical, and I get 75 for sent home. Unfortunately, Rowan was sent home, and that's the baker that I had paired this with. I had hoped to get a lot of stitches in this. Not happening. Rowan went home. But since I already had it out, and I knew that would be coming up, and I have guests this weekend, I decided to go ahead and stitch a little bit ahead on week 3. And I went ahead and did the remaining stitches, which this would have been 125 stitches. And I wound up stitching for the 2 prompts well more than that. So when you added them together, I actually put in 277 stitches, and I only needed 175 total for all 3 for last week and the 2 for this week. So I'll show you now, since my sister's looking away. I added in this whole section on both sides, this whole section on both sides, and on this side I actually got to put in this, which is a beautiful sparkling a toile that I'm using. So I haven't gotten that over here, but I already had well more than I needed, and I wanted to go ahead and get this put away. You can look back now, sister. Thank you for doing that. And hopefully I will pull it out again next month for a prompt. I won't have it for the Great British Bake Off, so I'll try to remember to use it in one of my acrostics so that I can pull it out and just at least put, another, maybe put that a toile on the other side and finish off another section or 2. It's easy to do when you have small little sections like that. You can do a section and then not worry about it. So, well, since I did my filming today on my plans for Christmas in July, I haven't had a lot of stitching time. That took quite a bit of time to pull all that together. But since I filmed, I sat down and wrote out my little card for each of my projects that I'll be starting. I keep a little 3x5 card on everything. I write down the design, the designer's name, the fabric I'm using, and the day I start and the day I finish. And that's just so that I can use those cards for my planning purposes. I can pull it out for my acrostics, or for even when we do things for prompts that say, what's your oldest whip, or stitch on this or that. I've got everything right there on those little cards, and I can lay them out on my table and use them to plan with, which is wonderful. I shouldn't have any trouble finding something to stitch for any kind of prompt once I finish starting all of those new starts in July. But for now, for the rest of this month, it's going to be my Great British Bake Off stitching, and also my bingo stitching, and finish up my acrostics. And then for whatever time I have left at the end of the month, it's going to be to stitch on those things that aren't Christmas, because I may have to skip them in the month of July. So that's the plan. Anyway, for now, that's all the stitching, and I'm going to let you get back to what you were doing. I hope it was stitching. And I'm going to move on to my next assignment. In the meantime, until we talk again, happy stitching, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Today is the 13th of June. It is Friday. I'm expecting a friend to show up here in about an hour, and we're going to stitch and go out to lunch together and stitch more this afternoon, and she's going to spend the night, and we're going to our stitching meetup together tomorrow. So I'm excited about that. This is my friend Lynn, and on occasion she gets to make it a overnight when she comes up for the stitching meetup, and I'm so delighted that we get to do that. So I wanted to share with you what I stitched on. I did this last night, and didn't get a chance to videotape because it was fairly late when I finished it, but I wanted to catch up on my temperature tree. And it's not in my acrostics, it's not in my bingo, it's not in my British Bake Off. So I had to just find a time when I could fit it in. And yesterday was a good day to do that. And so I caught it up through the 12th of June, and I'll show you now where it is. So I've started the June branch, which is right here, and I've gotten part of it done. Then it'll wrap on around the top and go back down the other side for June. So I think that's lovely. So almost half the tree, almost half the tree. So it's current up until yesterday. And you can see it's getting warmer and warmer and warmer because the colors are getting lighter and lighter and lighter. Anyway, I think it's lovely. I really have enjoyed working on this. I've never done a temperature chart before, and I'm thoroughly enjoying this one. And so I'm happy that I got that caught up. Well, I am going to go ahead now and get out my floss to bobbinate, because I had to take so much floss out of my working set of DMC that I ran out, and I had to go into my master set. My master set is my emergency backup, that if I'm stitching on a project and I run out of floss and I don't have any more, I know I've got one in my master set. So I pull it into my working set of DMC. And then I immediately make a list on my phone of anything I need to replenish in my master set. So kitting up all of those new starts, I think there was about 25 of them, really did a toll on my DMC, because I kit each project. And if you watch my last video, you'll see if there are multiples on a pattern, I'll keep them in the same project bag, so I only have to put floss into one bag. But just to let you know, I'm very diligent about doing that, because when I travel, which I do quite often now since I'm retired, I just grab the bags. I have a little travel kit that my friend Donna gave me that's a cute little bag that I keep all of my like needles and threaders and snag nabbit and all that stuff in, and it goes wherever I go. And then I just grab whatever project bags I need, and everything I need for that project is in that bag. And then I don't have to worry, did I leave something at home? Do I have what I need? And so DMC is not that expensive, and I don't mind doing that. And then when I finish a project, I put all my working DMC back into my working set, and I may have multiples of a color. But you know what's interesting? That turned out great when I kitted those 25 projects at one time, because I used almost every color that I had multiples of. I used almost every one of them to kit up the next set. So it works for me. It may not be the way you would like to do it. Some people have a master set, and they just take from the master set and they take off a length of thread and put it in their project. That just doesn't work for me. So I like the way I do it. It's fun for me. I enjoy the kitting process. The only process I don't really enjoy is when I have to unkit a project when I'm finished. And I catch myself waiting until I have 2 or 3 of those. And then I lay out all the DMC in front of me, all the little boxes of DMC. And I wind up getting out my working copy, and I put them back in order as I go, just from all around me. And I don't mind as much when I'm doing multiples at one time. Seems to be a little more efficient to me. But anyway, hope you have a great weekend. I'm hoping to come back and share more with you on Saturday after our stitching meetup. And but in the meantime, until I do, happy stitching, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is much, much later on Friday, the 13th of June. I am here to show you what I was able to stitch on today and accomplish, and tell you a little bit about the day. And then I'm going to head to bed. Have a big day tomorrow, going to my stitching meetup. I'm very excited about it. So here's what I've been doing. First of all, I had an eye exam this morning. Not just an annual eye exam. It was a follow-up to when I recently developed floaters in my eye and thought I might be having a retinal tear. And the good news is it was not a tear, and it still isn't a tear. So today was my big follow-up. They wanted to make sure that nothing had changed and that I wasn't headed toward a tear or a separation, and I'm not. And so, good news. Had a great eye exam. Everything's fine. I don't have to go back for a year. I'm excited. So, unfortunately, when you get your annual eye exam, they dilate your eyes. I couldn't see a thing. I mean, I could see to drive. I could see to function, but I couldn't see to stitch. So I got home probably about 10 or so. My friend Lynn arrived about 11:15, and I couldn't see to stitch. So instead, I did some admin work while she stitched. I recently kitted up all my new starts for Christmas in July, and I really devastated my floss supply. So I went and purchased that from Hobby Lobby. And this morning, I took the time to bobbinate it all. I had bits and pieces of colors that I needed in several of my kitted projects where I didn't have the color at all, and I just had to put it on a list of what I needed for each project. So I bobbinated those first and got all of those flosses into the appropriate bag. And then the rest that I needed to bobbinate was the rest of the floss that I needed to replenish my master set. And I did that today, and I got it filed away. So that felt great. By that time, it was time for lunch, and my friend and Lynn and I met our friend Donna. She had to do some errands at lunch, and she was working from home, so she was in town, and we were able to meet up with her and my husband, and all four of us went and had a nice Chinese lunch together. By the time I got back, I could see a little bit, so I started stitching. And the first thing I had to work on was my bingo call for the day, and that was a gift stitch. So I pulled out my Paula Vaughan's December quilt. This is from my friend Cheryl, who collects the Raggedy Anns, and you may be able to see the little Raggedy Ann doll there. And I don't know if you've seen this before or not. If you've seen this book, you have, but look at the display. There's this cute little Raggedy Ann doll sitting right there in the display. And she precious, just peeking around the corner there. And a teddy bear. There's a teddy bear in there too. But anyway, today I worked on December quilt. And I was working on the poster for the railing up at the top of what would be, I guess, a landing or something like that. And today I put in all but one color of it. So 216 stitches, all in this right here. But it's almost finished. So I've got one more small color to stitch in there, a lighter color. And then I can go over this way and do the spindles and everything in here. And then I'll have this half stitch to do behind it, and I'll have this end done to there. I can take it all the way out to the end, and then I can come back around when after I've done that. I can start working on this side and get it down to here, and then I can roll everything and get the bottom of it. So it's getting there. It looks good. I was tickled. 216 stitches. I only needed 100. So that worked out really well. So if you'll excuse me, I will put this back in my project bag so that I can put it back in my bins for my Christmas and July stitching. So I was on a roll then. It was like, oh, this is great. I can now see to stitch. So now what am I going to stitch on? Well, I pulled out my Great British Bake Off, and I've got my tracking forms that I'm using for that. And so this is week 3 that I'm now working on. Week 3 started today, and I went ahead and watched mine a little early and started stitching on it yesterday because I knew I had company this weekend, and I wasn't sure how much stitching I was going to get to do. So today I decided I would go ahead and see what else I needed to stitch on for the British Bake Off. As it turned out, my December quilt was one of the things called for, so those 216 stitches were more than enough for the 100 that I needed. So there you go. And then the next one I needed was Autumn in the Village. And I'm not using that for an acrostic, so I thought, okay, this is a good time to do that. Tomorrow's stitching meetup, I don't want to take it with me. It's too complex. The pattern is too confetti heavy. It's very confetti heavy. it's a Stoney Creek, for one thing. So I'll remind you, this is what it looks like. And I am working on the Needle Workshop right here. And today I really made some progress on this thing. I am so excited to tell you. I put in 282 stitches in it, and that was enough to finish filling in the bottom floor of that house. I had this side done right here, but I didn't have like a wall on each side here. And I don't know if you can tell because it's not backstitched yet, but there are pumpkins here, and there is a scarecrow here with a big hat on, and there's a bench that he's sitting on outside the window. And of course there's shutters and the curtains and all for the inside of the building. It was funny because Lynn and I were sitting here stitching, and I said, okay, I'm going to stitch these 6 stitches in this color. And it was exactly 6. And I said, okay, I'm going to do the next color. It was exactly 6 stitches. I did the next color. It was exactly 6 stitches. I said, Lynn, I need 150 stitches, or 125, I think it was, 125 stitches. And I'm going to do them 6 at a time. It was kind of funny, because that is very confetti heavy in that little house. As you can see, there's how far I've gotten on the whole thing. But this is where I was working tonight. And as you can see, that is quite confetti heavy. I was looking to see, I think the most stitches that were stitched at any one time was 20. Until I got to filling in the winter white walls at the, here and down in here. And that was a little bit more than 20. But anyway, that's where I got to. So that house is halfway finished. The bottom floor is finished, which is wonderful. I still haven't done any back stitching. I actually thought about doing back stitching tonight, and I looked at it, and I opened up this book. These are the back stitching instructions for this. And each one of these, where you see it goes out here and comes back, they're different colors. It's that many different colors of back stitching in here. So it'll tell you back stitch the vines in the border in this color. backstitch the heart in this color, backstitch the vines on the heart and the words on the Needle Workshop in this color. So it's very specific, but they're different colors. And I think I counted them, and there were 14 or 15 different colors in there. So I decided I was not going to do that today. And I'm glad I didn't, because I'm really grateful that I got all this confetti heavy stitching done, because when I go back to the house now to start working on it, if you look at the top portion of the house, there's a lot of blocks of color. It'll go a lot faster, and I can get that whole house finished and then maybe move all the way to that end. And my hope is that I'll once I finish cross stitching out to the end, I should backstitch my way back across, cross stitch the other half, and then backstitch it. That sounds like a plan to me. So there you have it. That's my stitching today. Maybe not as much as I'm used to, but having gone to the eye doctor and having my eyes dilated, I couldn't see for half the day well enough to stitch. I think it's okay. It worked out just fine. Okay, I'm going to let you get on with what you're doing. I've got to pack my bag for tomorrow. I've got it partially packed. I don't have everything in there. I got to figure out what all I'm going to take with me. I do know my call for bingo tomorrow is for a whip closest to a finish. And right now, I can't tell between Nativity Town and maybe A Girl in Her Garden which one is actually closer. So since I worked on A Girl in Her Garden last time, I'm taking Nativity Town with me this time to work on that. And I hope to get those 100 stitches for my bingo completed while I'm at my stitching meetup tomorrow. Now I just have to decide if I want to work on it the whole time I'm there, or if I want to take something else so that I can stitch on maybe one or two things tomorrow. So I'll go check that out, and I will make up my mind, and tomorrow night hopefully I can come back and share with you everything I've stitched on tomorrow at the stitching meetup. I hope you have a great evening and a great day tomorrow. Happy stitching, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Today is Sunday, June 15th, and I started out my afternoon stitching on my bingo stitching for the day. So my bingo call for number 11 that was called today is for my most recent new start. So I actually went back and looked to see what was my most recent new start, and it was Love My Stitching by Hands On Design. And so I pulled it out. When I first started this, I did the word scissors, the two scissors, and I did this background stitching that highlights the word floss. So when I picked this up today, I started stitching the red floss bobbins or skeins of floss and the word hoop. I realized when I stitched the first one of these that I hadn't taken a before picture. So I stopped and took the picture. But I went ahead and counted those stitches because I had just put them in. But this is going to be a really cute one. This is the one that goes on a project bag. I'll show you the picture. Or you could frame it yourself, but this is the way that it was designed. It was a collaboration with Kathy Haberman and Karen from the So Much to Love, who makes the cross-stitch bags. So all the directions are in here on how to put this into a cross-stitch bag. I haven't decided yet if that's what I'm going to do, but you know, I do like to put my stitching into cross-stitch, into bags. So anyway, this is where I got to today. It was required 100 stitches, and I mentioned I did 184. So I'm going to put this away because today on my schedule, I want to work on a prompt of my Summer by the Sea. I have it for my daily 30 acrostic, so I need 300 stitches in it. I also have it in my acrostic for 24 hours of cross stitch, In fact, it's the last one of that one. So if I could get that finished today, then that would be awesome. So I want to show one more thing to you. I took this with me to the library for my stitching day, and then I came home and I worked on it some more. And I'm through with it now for this stitching session. But this is called Hope and Love. I've shared this with you before, and I've shared with you before that I took some of the border off and rearranged a couple of little things to make it a bit smaller for me. But this is where I got to so far. I wound up stitching 250 stitches in it. And there is my hope and love. So I put the E, the heart, and the 2 other letters, which is going to say hope never fails. So that's how far I got. That's what 250 stitches did for me. I did that for a prompt as well. That was in my 24 hours. No, that was in my magazine monthly challenge group. And I have 1 letter left in that group, which is Nativity. So today my plan is to try to get my Just Nan Summer by the Sea stitched, because that's a big one coming up with 300 stitches. And then maybe tomorrow I could work on my other 300 stitch piece, which is Ode to a Good Dog, and that would finish up that acrostic. And then the only thing left for me to stitch that's a requirement would be to finish the stitches for my monthly requirement on Nativity. And I'm using it for the last letter in the magazine challenge that I need, which will be the W. I'm using that for Teresa Wentzler. And when I finish all of that, I will have finished all of my acrostics and all of my monthly requirements. And that's important to me right now because I'm going to a retreat in about a week, and I don't want to have anything hanging over my head when I'm going. So I'm trying to get everything done, get it finished, get it posted, and go from there. So I may stitch ahead on my Great British Bake Off as well for that reason. And if I do, that's fine. These things we can do at our own pace. It's not a problem. But I'll wait to post it so I don't have a spoiler. I think it's late enough now in the week that everybody's watched it. And so I'll probably post it tonight or tomorrow. Then I finish my stitching for this week's episode and I'll move on. So I hope you've had a great day, a restful day. Today's Father's Day, so if you're a father, happy Father's Day. I was all excited to take my husband out to lunch for his Father's Day, and I said, "Oh, how would you like to go and have seafood?" I know he loves fish, and I had picked a restaurant to take him to, and he said, "Do I get to go wherever I want today?" And I said, "Yes, of course, it's Father's Day. You get to pick." He said, "I really want an omelet from Waffle House." So for my big Father's Day treat for my husband, I took him to Waffle House, and he got a wonderful Fiesta omelet, and he loved it. It was his choice. So, but I hope that you guys have had a happy Father's Day in your household as well. Oh, everybody, I'm going to get busy stitching again, and I hope you are, and I hope you're having a great time doing it. So until I can talk with you again, happy stitching. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It is a little bit later on Sunday afternoon, the 15th of June, and I am very pleased to be able to share with you that I completed my stitch requirements for my Summer by the Sea by Just Nan. This was so that I could count it for my daily 30 acrostic, which requires 300 stitches. I was also using it for the S in Perilous Task in the 24 hours of cross stitch. And so that actually completed the acrostic in the 24 hours of cross stitch, which this month is my first acrostic to complete, which is awesome. I still need to stitch Nativity for the Magazine Monthly Challenge for the T for the W in Teresa Wentzler's Nativity. And that word was sweets. And I still have to do a D in needle felt in the Daily 30 group, which I'm going to be doing as Ode to a Good Dog. So those two things I have to do. When I do the nativity stitching for the Magazine Monthly Challenge, I plan on going ahead and finishing my required 500 stitches. I've gotten a little over 100 in it so far. So that will finalize everything I need to do, as we talked about before. So today, I'll remind you, this is what Summer by the Sea looks like. I think it's beautiful. These are just such pretty charts. Love this color scheme. And today I put 304 stitches in, and this is where I got to. So there is a middle stitch, a middle color in here that I put in all the way around to here. You can actually see a little bit of it right there if you look closely. And then I picked up this green and I did the stems and leaves for this block, and the little two right here at the bottom. So the next time I pick it up, if I want to continue in that realm, I can do the one for this block and then do the flowers in these three areas. So working away, trying to get this done, this half, before I roll it down. But that was a good progress for 304 stitches. I was really pleased with that. And so now that will go away for a little bit. And I have, if I have any more time to stitch today, I will probably go ahead and pull out my Ode to a Good Dog and get started on it. Or I just may pull out something extra to stitch on, since I've already planned to stitch Ode to a Good Dog on Thursday. My friend Donna is supposed to come over Thursday. She's off for Juneteenth. They have that holiday off at her office, and so she and I have decided that would make a great stitchy day. So I'm hoping that we get to do that. And I'll want to keep something that would be easy to stitch while I visit. And Ode to a Good Dog would be a good one to do that with. So in the meantime, I will pick up something else to work on. And I will be here to share it with you for sure. Oh, everybody have a great rest of your afternoon and happy stitching. Welcome everybody, welcome back. This is Dina. Well, it is the 17th of June, and I am here to tell you about my stitching for the last couple of days. Yesterday evening, I had a Zoom call, and I decided to stitch on Ode to a Good Dog because I could see that, and it would be good stitching for my Zoom. And I'll remind you of what that looks like from Ellen Reed of Maximum Cross Stitch. And so I am happy to tell you I was able to stitch an entire line of text, and it was 305 stitches. So I did the second line of text. So now I've got everything completed down to about right there. And now I can start working on more leaves and vines and flowers down the side and put in more text as I work my way down to the bulk of the pattern, which is the house and all of this down here. But I got the second line up here done, so this is about where I'm at, right here. So that was lovely. I got that done. 305 stitches tells you I was doing that for my daily 30 acrostic because I have to do 500 stitches in it. So I made that. Then I pulled out my dressmaker's daughter because I needed that for my bingo game, and I'm not even going to share it because all I did was put 3 more rows of purple stitches in the background on one of the dresses, and if I showed it to you, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference because it would look exactly the same to you. I can insert a picture here maybe just to show you, but it's hanging up over there. I won't go get it. And then I went ahead and tackled Nativity. I had a goal yesterday, and my goal was a big one. I wanted to do the back stitching. I had decided that since I wasn't really, I could count back stitching. I counted 2 stitches equals 1 cross stitch. So I count them all up and divide by 2. And I was actually able to get 324 stitches on it on the 16th, and I went back and did another 209 on it on the so far this morning. But because I had worked on Nativity once before, I was able to get over the 500 stitches that I needed for my monthly requirement. I was looking for my little sticky note that I had over here where I was adding it up from day to day. But anyway, I know it went over. So let me show you where I got to on it. This is Nativity with all the back stitching complete. Now, isn't that beautiful? If you've been watching it, you will be able to tell a big difference, because that back stitching has just made it pop. Their clothing, their hands are showing a lot better now because I back stitched them. And even the folds in here that were already beautiful with just the shading it just looks like fabric laying there. It's so pretty. So let's talk about these hands. I went to back stitch their hands and I didn't like them. I back stitched Joseph's hand and it was fine. And then I went to back stitch Mary's hands, and they had this as one hand. All this was one hand. It looked too fat. It didn't look appropriate for this young, small framed female. And so I decided I would back stitch it as if it was her 2 hands cupped together under the baby like this. And so that's what I did. And I tried it, probably adjusted it 2 or 3 times till I got it the way I wanted it. But I think that's actually what it looks like now. And you can see the baby a lot better now that that's been back stitched in his wrap. So I just love it. I think it really is beautiful. The wheat, now that you've got the back stitching in it, really pops for me. And you may notice that I have now added 2 more of these medallions and 2 corners and one of the lines across here. So here's another one. I thought I had counted just exactly right. I've checked the bottom 2 or 3 times, but unfortunately I was off by 1 stitch here. And the only way to fix it was I had 2 choices. I could drop down and put the stitch in it, put everything down 1, which would make it even across the bottom. I thought about adding a stitch in length here so that it would still be 1 up from the bottom, because each of these are indented 1 from the edge of the boxes. However, the medallion in these boxes that you stitch touches all the sides, so they have to be exactly the size that they need to be for that medallion to fit in there. So I couldn't stretch this. So it was like, okay, I'll either have to put these 2 in 2 rows and then 2 rows down here and let it be even all the way across where it's not even anywhere else, or I just let this cover the top. And I decided to do that because the wing goes out of the border here, the wing goes out of the border here, and I figured that this could come out of the border here for a little bit. And I do have the line on both sides, and then this is the bottom line, and there'll be these little green lazy daisies through the middle, and it'll look like the border. And I don't think your eye will notice it as much as it would have if I dropped it down and had it even across here, because it's not even anywhere else. It's offset by 1. So I think I've got my problem solved. You can count and count and count. You can still make a mistake, but I wasn't ripping all that out. Wasn't doing it. So I fudged it, which is what I try to do when I need to. That's my style. I'm sticking with it. But I think it's beautiful. I am thrilled to death to have it where it is. I have it slotted for the first thing to stitch in July, for Christmas in July. But I'm just thrilled that I was able to get all the back stitching finished in one day. And then today, as I was sitting here chatting with my sister, we had a call today, I did that outline stitch for the boxes and across because it was just kind of easy, mindless kind of stitching. So that's what I did there. Now, the other thing I've done today is I've done my bingo stitching for today, and my bingo call for today was for a spring stitch, and I decided that a girl in her garden would be my spring stitch because that looks very springish to me, very pretty. And I went ahead and put in 104 stitches, and I'll show you what that got me. That got me these flowers up here. So now the only thing I have left to do before I start the girl herself are the strawberries that are coming out of the basket. And then I'll be ready to move on to the little girl. So these are the strawberries I'm talking about. I need to do those strawberries and then I can start the lady in the middle. Isn't that awesome? So that's been my progress today. Coco and I went on a lovely walk this morning. I actually filmed her on a walk recently because she was just so intently sniffing that we didn't make it 3 houses past our house. She sniffed and sniffed and sniffed for the deer and then followed that trail across the street up into the neighbor's yard and then back again. And by the time she got finished with all that, she was ready to go home. It was hilarious. Anyway, she's a funny girl. But the other thing I have for you that's Coco related is I got a text from my husband this week and he said, look who is patiently waiting for her Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets. He takes Coco with him for long walks. And when he goes by Chick-fil-A on those mornings, if he does, to get him breakfast nuggets, he gets one order of nuggets, like 5 nuggets, and he goes inside to get them so he can stop by a table and cut them into little bite-sized pieces for her. She gets half of them. But he cuts them in little pieces because she's too impatient to wait for him to do that in the car. But he looked out the door and she was watching for him out the front window of his truck. And he snapped a picture of her and sent it to me. And it's so cute, I had to include it. It is a little bit dark because she's inside the truck, but if you look real close, you can see her. And so there's Coco waiting on her nuggets. She is such a big part of our life. Thanks for letting me share her with you as much as I share my stitching with you. Well, I'm going to let you get back to what you were doing. I'm going to, I think, decide if I'm going to keep working on my Nativity for a little bit longer, just to get a few more stitches in it, or if I'm going to move on to something else. But either way, whatever I stitch on, I'll be sharing with you. And I thank you so much for letting me do that. Happy stitching, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. It is June 18th, and I am here to talk to you a little bit about some stitching I did today. Today's bingo call for me turned out to be a gift stitch. So I decided to pull this one out because I just watched my British Bake Off episode 4 for next week. And the December quilt is affiliated with a baker that got first in technical, so I needed 100 stitches in it as well. So I thought, there you go. I'm going to use my December quilt. I'm going to count that for that first stitching for the British Bake Off for episode 4. And I'll remind you, this is what the December quilt looks like. And the last time I worked on it, I had started working on this corner post right here, and I had one more color left in it to do. So that's where I picked up today. And I did 121 stitches in it to end the color. And I finished the final color in the corner post, and I finished that color and the rest of what is this railing for this end. And so the next time I pick it up, I can continue working on this end of the piece, and then I will be able to swap over to the other side and take it all the way out to the end, and then I can go down to the fun part. I'm making myself do the harder part first. That's not as fun. But anyway, that one got 121 stitches in it, and I am tickled, tickled, tickled. So I'll put that away and get back to my mission stitching. You know, when I get close to a finish, I start concentrating on something. And so I don't know that I'll finish it this month because I have other stitching I need to do this month. But every spare minute that I have, I'm stitching on Nativity. So I will continue stitching on it today, and hopefully tonight, maybe after choir practice, when I'm through stitching for the day, because I usually come back home and stitch a little bit, I'll take a moment and I'll come and share with you how far I got on it today. Not stitching it for any prompts or anything like that. Yesterday I got over 500 extra stitches in it, and you know, I'd already done the 500 for the month, so it's making progress, and I can't wait to share that with you. But I would like to finish stitching on it today before I do that, so I'll come back and share that with you in a little while. And in the meantime, happy stitching, everybody. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. Well, it's much later. I'm about to head to bed. But I did get some work done on Nativity today. I actually did 558 stitches today. Now that's all total. So I think I had done somewhere around 200, 252 stitches or whatever earlier, but I'm not sure what the number was when I shared it with you. But anyway, tonight, as I'm ending my day, I'm at 558 stitches. So I'll remind you, this is what Teresa Wentzler's Nativity looks like. And the last time I shared it with you, I had just finished the back stitching. So today I've concentrated on borders. Oh my goodness, borders. Okay, so I had these two sections to fill completely in. I had all of these little green things in the middle from about midway down to do. I didn't have any of this done other than the square and the circle. So I've done all of this across here, and I've done all of these in here, which will mirror these that are up here that I just finished. So I'm now going to be doing cross stitch across here, and then I will have to go back and look at everything to see what I have left. It's a very complex pattern, and so I will have to I'll have to really study it and get it done tomorrow or the next day or the next. I do know my call for tomorrow on my bingo board is to stitch on one of my pieces that was in the Great British Bake Off. So this week coming up, I either need to stitch on Girl in a Garden, Summer by the Sea, or Dressmaker's Daughter for the 100 stitches for this. And since one of them requires only 50 stitches and one requires 125 and the other one requires 225, my guess is I'll probably go with the one that requires 50, because once I do my 100, I've met that. So there you go. Anyway, that is it for this evening. Thanks for letting me share my update on Nativity. I hope you like it. I think it's coming along beautifully. And I'm hoping for a finish in the next few days. If not, it is slated for the 1st of July. And if nothing else, maybe I could finish it on the 1st of July. Wouldn't that be fun? All right, I'm going to say goodnight, and I will see you tomorrow. My friend Donna and my friend Juliana are coming over to stitch with me tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. And I normally wouldn't work on something like this, but since I'm this close to a finish, I might keep working away at it. Anyway, happy stitching, everybody. I'll talk to you soon. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. This is Tina. It is the 20th of June. It's my wedding anniversary, 49 years today. My husband and I will be celebrating a little bit later with dinner out together. But I celebrated in a very different way today. I have been pushing one of my long-term, in fact, it is my oldest whip. I went back and confirmed that I currently have. And it was actually started in May of 2020. And today I finished it. It is my Teresa Wentzler's Nativity. It's been long awaited, and here it is. Happy anniversary to me. I'm so thrilled to have this done, and I want to tell you a little bit about it. So let me share it with you. This is what she looks like. Just took her off the roller frame. Isn't she gorgeous? I want to tell you some things. Number one, there is one error that I found in the pattern itself. One of the beads at the top in between these little green lazy daisy stitches is not on the pattern. I don't know why it's not there. There's nothing in the way. It's just a misprint. It needs to be there. Anyway, that was the only thing I found wrong for me in the pattern. I did mention that I didn't like her hands underneath, and I did my own version of that, but that was just personal preference on my part. So I have been working on this piece for days, and I just finished stitching my bingo call for yesterday because I didn't even touch it yesterday. I was working on this. I did all of the metallic thread and beadings between yesterday and today. Here's the metallic in here. You can see it's meant to be like a little honeycomb or mesh in the background. It's done. I did mine with Petite Treasure Braid. It called for Krynick, but I did Petite Treasure Braid PB 03 for mine. That's the one that I used, and I had the one card and I still had some left over. So, but you do the mesh behind in the corners and on each of the borders, and there is a distinct pattern that you have to follow, or if you want to do it the way they say. And it's hard for me to tell. I think that they intended for you to go under all of your stitching. I did not. I went under most of it, but then right here over these big medallions, I just went right over the green because I felt like it would help hold down all those lazy daisy stitches. So here she is. Now let's talk about the beading. The beads are in between all of these lazy daisy stitches, the little green leaves. They called for lilac beads. For whatever reason, I did not purchase the beads, or I have used them for something else. So anyway, I went in my stash and I found two very beautiful lilac beads. One was a shade darker than the other. I didn't have a full pack of either one. So I decided I would do every other one. And that's what I did in here. And I don't know if you can tell, but this is just a shade darker than that one. So I did every other bead light and every other bead the darker shade. And I love the effect that it had. It's hard for you to see it, but to the naked eye, you can really tell. It looks so good. And it just pulls out a little more of those purpley tones because each of these colors are in here. Just looks great. And then it called for gold beads. And you can see right there where they are. There are gold beads in these corner medallions. And I think there's about 16 of them or something like that. and I put them in the corners because I was trying to bead-like things so I could, remember the pattern. And then I thought, well, gosh, how many more of these beads are there? Well, there's a lot. And again, I had a partial thing of beads. And so I looked at where they went in here, and they were all in here sitting on top of this gold metallic thread, just all over the place. They were in a pattern, but they were just sitting on that thread. I don't know if it was to hold the thread down or just to make it look pretty. But as you can tell here, it's hard to see those beads. They're not really jumping out at me. And so I decided it wasn't worth the effort. I didn't feel like I was going to get enough of a return on my investment to do that. So I did all 4 corners, as I said, and then I left the gold beads off the metallic thread. I really wanted the metallic thread to shine. I want you to be able to see it. And so I didn't do those beads. First of all, I was afraid I'd run out, and I think I would have, because I started counting how many I thought I would need and to see if I had that many, and I could tell about halfway through I wasn't going to have enough. So I pulled all my gold beads that I had partial packages of. You want to know, there was not the same one, the same color. Not one. Not one. And I had already done the 4 corners. So I was either going to have to do a different color gold on the 4 sides so that I would have 2 colors of gold beads, and it would look appropriate because they would all, be in the right places. But I thought, this is too much work. This is just, I'm having to work too hard to make it work, and I like it just the way it is. So I declared it done. So it's finished. I think it's sparkly enough. I think it's fancy enough. And now I am going to have it framed. I did go through all the frames I had in my closet, and I don't have one that'll fit. It's an odd size. It's a 10-inch width, but it's 11.5 inches long. Isn't that weird? So it doesn't fit in a regular frame. It doesn't fit in a normal, it's not an 8x10. It's not a, I can't put it in a 10x14. So it's gonna have to be custom framed, but Mindy won't mind. But there she is. This is Nativity by Teresa Wentzler. Now I have a funny to tell you. My friend Donna and my friend Juliana were both over here yesterday. We had a day of stitching together, and I was diligently working on this. And I was doing the webbing of that Petite Treasure braid all through, trying to watch that pattern and talk and visit at the same time, and that was hard to do. But they were kind. When I got quiet, they didn't bother me. They knew I was counting. But I made the comment, I said, I finally finished this Teresa Wentzler, and I said, and then I think about all the Teresa Wentzlers I have in my stash. I have an entire box of them. I've been collecting Teresa Wentzler for years. And my friend Donna said, oh, I have 2. And you know what? I don't think I'm going to do them. So we can get together and go through them, and you can have all of hers that you don't already have, that I have. You can have them. I said, oh, gee, thank you. Actually, that would be nice. But I was laughing, and I said, what am I getting myself into? How many of these do I really want to suffer through? But you know what? I love it. I think it's beautiful. And I'm so, so glad that I persevered and restarted this thing in 2020, and that I finally finished it. Just in, the 5-year, just past the 5-year birthday. But I got her done. So tickled. So let me give a shout out to some wonderful people in a little group called the Determined Stitchers, because this is just a group of friends that have a chat that we just send messages and post we post yearly goals, and we break them down, and we tell each month how we're doing on them. And it's just a way to encourage each other. But it's formal enough, because you put those goals out there and you tell people what you're going to do, that this year my goals were 500 stitches in particular pieces that I wanted to finish. And as I've told you before, my friend Donna told me I had to finish Miss Christmas Eve, I had to finish Hawk Run Hollow, and I had to finish Nativity because she was tired of seeing them. She was teasing, but she was motivating me to get through some of these big projects. And I've done all of those. And I'm so grateful that the Determined Stitchers was sort of the impetus for that. And I was putting 500 stitches a month in this piece, and I could really see it progressing. And so now it's done, and I'm thrilled. So I am going to put everything away on this, unkit it, and take it to get it framed. Then I had to do my stitching for my bingo group and for yesterday, and that stitching was one of my Great British Bake Off pieces. And so I pulled back out in her garden. Oh, hey, is Daddy home? This is what happens when Dad gets home, sorry. Hey, I know he's here. I'm so glad. I'm glad she's very excited because her daddy's home. You heard the door, didn't you? You heard the garage door go up. Well, so I thought, oh, I'm going to do this one because it's been going, I've been rocking and rolling on it. And I didn't realize that what was left in this basket were the 3 strawberries, but they're 1 over 1. So I went from Teresa Wentzler beating to 1 over 1, but I did it. So I actually got in 107 stitches and it finished the 3 strawberries and all the little vines and everything. I'm doing it real close so you can see it. 107 stitches, but I got it done. So I met my bingo call for yesterday, and the bingo call for today was to work on one of my monthly requirements. I'm going to count this one because this was one of my monthly requirements of 500 stitches a month, and I put in today 1,073 stitches in it when counting all those beads that I was doing. And I will tell you too, I said I was going to go back and estimate how many lazy daisies I put in this thing, and I counted up 733. So I don't know if that's exactly accurate, but I was just kind of counting them up pretty quick. And but that's a lot of lazy daisies, a lot. Well, my husband's home. He's greeting Coco, and he'll be calling up to me in a second. So I'll bid you adieu. And I'll see you the next time I have some stitching to share with you. And in the meantime, happy stitching, everybody.